Hello and welcome to this video which we're calling From Plan to Plate. This is the second video in the long haul series and follows the video Eating Planned Meals at Regular Intervals. This video discusses the stages and tasks that are required to get your planned meal to your plate ready for you to eat. As a dietitian, prior to working with those with long COVID, this was not a topic I discussed on a regular basis with patients. However, as somebody with MS, recognising the different challenges in these stages, coming to terms with needing to do things differently, and being kind to myself have all made a significant difference to my daily life. As you watch and listen to this video, I hope it helps you identify any tasks that you're finding difficult, helps you realise that you're not alone, gives you ideas you could try, and helps you feel encouraged and empowered to make changes if you need to. Above all, I hope that this will be a positive step along your journey to eating well, because eating well helps your mind and body in the here and now. So what are we talking about? As the name suggests, I suggest it is all the stages and their tasks that are required to get food from your meal plan to your plate. These stages and some of their tasks are shopping itself, getting to, from and around, for example, a supermarket, unpacking the shopping and transferring items to cupboards and fridges or your freezer, preparing a meal, thinking about removing items from cupboards, the fridge, the freezer, removing items from their packets, opening tins, preparing vegetables, etc. Cooking a meal, heating and stirring food in the saucepans, adding items to the oven or microwave, serving the meal, transferring items of the meal from the saucepan, oven, microwave to your plate, and then transporting the plate to where you eat the meal. The next stage, the eating and the meal and resting and digesting, will be discussed in a different video. And then we've got clearing up afterwards. So transferring those plates and glasses and utensils to the kitchen. Washing up is the final stage. Washing and drying up, loading and unloading a dishwasher so that everything's clean for the time when it's next needed. Building on all of this, may I just confirm the symptoms I'm referring to when I'm thinking of how they affect these tasks? So I'm thinking of the symptoms that are shared by many of us, such as pain and fatigue, whether that's physical, mental, and I think there should be a category of emotional pain and fatigue to acknowledge the toll inflicted by an unwanted and seemingly unmovable condition. As you listen to this, please know that I know that you are all unique. You may be experiencing one, some, or all of these symptoms. How each symptom affects you probably ranges from being mildly annoying through to distressing, through to completely disabling and stopping you completely. And I expect that your experience of each symptom varies from day to day. I would also like to say that one interesting, although I'm not sure actually that's the right word, thing about all of these symptoms are that they are, in general, invisible to most onlookers. So, for example, if you're in the supermarket and feel very tired and then very dizzy and unsteady, no one's going to know. They will just see someone holding firmly onto their supermarket trolley and possibly walking slowly. They won't see or know the distress you're feeling, the sense of panic, and the effort it takes to try to keep calm, keep breathing, and then look to sit down, which is often easier said than done, so that you can recover. So why is it important to look at this? Fatigue and pain, I suggest, can impact some or all of the different tasks in different ways. Not being able to do any one task as usual or as you would like to can be unexpected. It's a real shock and just frustrating. It can be a cause, I think, of friction in relationships with others if they can't understand why you can't do what you always did. It can impact on your ability to eat well, of course. And this, of course, is so important for your mind and body in the here and now. From what I've heard from patients with long COVID, I would suggest that many people ended up thinking, what's wrong with me? Blame themselves and then tried harder, which just made fatigue, pain and frustration worse. The feedback I received from patients when we talked about this topic was mainly one of relief, because I helped them realise they were not the only person finding things difficult, as well as acknowledging the toll, both physical and emotional, of trying to keep going as they used to, despite the evidence that they couldn't. And then we considered ways of doing things differently without helping them feel as though they were alone or feeling a failure. And then often we were able to find practical solutions that were right for them and their families. To bring this section to a close, may I reflect and suggest that most symptoms affect each task in a negative way. The combination of symptoms and their effects on each task can, at times, I think, feel overwhelming. Admitting this to yourself can feel uncomfortable. But please remember, you are not alone. And if you can, try to take heart. Clarifying the challenges and allowing yourselves to consider doing things differently is the first step to finding the solutions. With this in mind, I've designed some questions that I hope will help. So, as you think about each task, do think, what are you currently trying to do? And it might help to think about when and how you are doing the task. Then, may I suggest, think about what is stopping you doing what you're trying to do. So, for example, which symptoms and how? Are the symptoms causing trouble before you do the task? Is it during? Or is it afterwards? Or is it a combination of all three? Next question is it important to you that you keep trying to do things as usual despite any consequences? And please know that I think yes, no, and sometimes are all valid answers. Have a think too, could anything or anyone make it easier? Could you do the task in a different way? If it's not really important to you that you perform the task, then could someone else do this for you? Then I think it's thinking about who could you ask. In case it's helpful, may I share something that I've learned over the years? I'm always amazed at how much I can be struggling and how people don't notice. I don't know whether we can read into that, if anything, but I think it does tie into the fact that sometimes most disabling symptoms of pain and fatigue are invisible to most other people. So let's move on to thinking about different ways, or considering different ways of doing things. May I just confirm that for some of you, if you're like me, this is quite massive. From what I've observed of myself and others, I suggest that general barriers to finding these solutions could be described as follows. Firstly, you and me, because we put ourselves under pressure to do what we've always done and can feel weak or a failure if we need to think about and do things differently. And I think others may unwittingly not help with their encouragement, such as, I'm sure you can manage, keep going, and things like that. Secondly, I think asking for help can feel difficult too. And for many of us, it can feed into the I'm a failure narrative because we can no longer do what we always did in the way we used to. And then receiving help isn't always easy because no one will do it as well as you or I would. And you will probably need to make peace with that. For some people, I think that's fairly easy. But for some people in some circumstances, it isn't easy at all and can cause friction and just brings another layer of difficulty. And then, of course, change itself can be challenging, especially if it feels it's being forced upon us by a situation we don't like or want. So before we look at solutions, may I just say that if you're finding this all a bit much to hear, please know that you're not alone. It's tough. It's been tough to write and it's tough to say. So if you need to, please do pause or stop the video, take a few moments or perhaps longer and then come back. If this has raised issues you have squashed for a long time, or if it's highlighting struggles you're having now, please do talk to someone, whether it's a trusted family member or a trusted friend, your GP or a health professional, or do phone one of the helplines that are there for any and all of us when we need them. Please don't suffer alone. Okay, let's look to finding solutions. Let's look at some examples by looking at the tasks and using the questions I described earlier. Hopefully, these will help you turn ideas into solutions that will work for you. Okay, so let's look to finding solutions. Let's look at some of the tasks in the context of the questions I described earlier. Hopefully, this will help you turn ideas into solutions that will work for you. As a quick reminder of the questions, do think about what you're trying to do, what is stopping you doing what you're trying to do. If you need to keep doing it in the same way, could anyone or anything help you? And if you don't have to do the task, who could do it for you? So looking at the tasks associated with shopping, when you look at these, there are a lot of them. Visiting a supermarket on a weekly basis was something I thought you did, and there was no alternative. So for years I struggled on, and the whole event would wipe me out for the rest of the day. But honestly, it didn't cross my mind that I could seriously look at not going shopping. Now we do a weekly online shop and ask our delivery driver to bring the baskets into the kitchen. And I'm guessing many of you are thinking, of course, why wouldn't you have thought of that? But if you haven't allowed yourself to think differently, or if you have to shop or want to shop, then do take a look at all these tasks. Please acknowledge there are quite a few, which in combination can be mentally and physically taxing. And so if you have to do them all, do allow yourself some recovery time afterwards, if you can. Okay, let's move on to tasks after shopping. So when you look at these tasks, again, there are actually quite a few involved. Now, if you're thinking I'm labouring a point, then you're right, I am. I'm guessing it's fair to say that many of us will try to do all of these all at once, immediately after a shop or a delivery. Again, I'm expecting some of you will be thinking, and does this matter? Some of you will be thinking, no wonder I'm so tired. Why I think it all matters is that the term pacing seems to be very important when it comes to trying to manage limited energy. I'm sure it's something you will have heard of. My understanding is that it's about trying not to push on, because there is often a payback where your body forces you to stop. Unbelievably frustrating, as I'm sure you know. Now, if you're like me, there will be times when you push on for big events, but I would hate you to be pushing on with every stage and task that's involved from plan to plate without realising that there may be different ways to do things. Let's look at the tasks associated with meal preparation. Interestingly, I'd say that the preparing and the cooking stages do attract the most attention when it comes to thinking of doing things differently. For example, whether it's thinking about equipment or buying brilliant gadgets to help open tins. But I think it's helpful to look at the energy aspects involved too. I think a big factor is that many of us cook our biggest meal of the day in the evening, when we have less energy or have run out of it completely. As an example of a task, some days I can chop up vegetables standing up, and some days I sit down. Some days I can drain a saucepan after boiling vegetables, and some days I absolutely can't. I'm struggling to stand and feeling dizzy, and it's just not safe. And I think that's why I included the serving stage. Sometimes we're left with no energy. And I know it was the same for some of my long COVID patients, because they would tell me that by the time they had got the meal on their plate, they were so exhausted they just couldn't eat it. As I've allowed myself to be more mindful and acknowledge how I'm really feeling, rather than ignoring how I'm feeling and pushing on, I've allowed myself to do things differently. And at last, I don't feel a failure. But it's been a long journey. And I guess, as I'm being honest with you, I need to tell you that some days are so bad that Paul and I say it's going to have to be a bowl of cereal for the evening meal. And I think that's okay too. So now on to the tasks associated with after the meal. All I'd like to say here is that it's not over until everything is cleared up and back where it belongs. And is it just me? But I don't like any of these tasks. I find them tiring. I do them separately at different times in the day. I can't keep up, and I need a washing up fairy. So, do you need to do anything? I feel we've covered a lot in this video. I hope it's helped you think about more about the stages and tasks that are required to get your planned meal to your plate ready for you to eat. I hope I've helped you understand why you might be finding some tasks difficult at the moment. And I really hope that I've given you some ideas for things you could try to make things easier for you. I do hope that you feel encouraged and empowered to think differently and give some things a try if it's something you need to do. If you would like to download the slides from this video, then do click on the link below. We are doing all we can to create these videos to educate, empathise and encourage and empower you on your long haul journey. And we really value what you think about how we're doing. If you could take a moment to complete the questionnaire on the link below, then that would be brilliant. If you feel you need more personalised support to help you in your unique situation, please do book a free discovery call. And let's see if it's something I can help you with and if an individual appointment is the best way forward for you. Finally, thank you for joining me today, and may I wish you well on the next stage of your journey. The most important thing, as I keep saying, is to remember that you're not alone if you are finding this journey a tough one, and that there are always solutions to be found. Thank you.